You're watching ABC4 News.
Well, there are still a lot of questions about the charges facing the suspect accused of killing Charlie Kirk this week at Utah Valley University, including whether he could face the death penalty. I sat down with Utah's Attorney General Derek Brown to try and get some of those questions answered. I want to welcome in Attorney General Derek Brown. Attorney General, thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Okay, first and foremost, we've got a suspect in custody. So that was the news we got this morning. I think there's a lot of confusion right now over who is charging, who is doing the charging, who's doing the prosecuting. Can you walk us through kind of how the state, the county, and then the feds
Well,
work
just
through this?
To back up, when this happened, within an hour or two, I was on the phone with the governor. He had spoken with the president. We had DOJ on the line, and everybody was. There's always a question of when you have a federal component and something that's clearly also state. Who's in charge? Who's running the show? And the answer is we all agreed right up front. We'll do this together. We'll co-lead. We'll all be involved together. So the reality is it's the best of both worlds if you could actually communicate, because as a state, we are obviously engaged in prosecution, but the feds have resources far beyond what a state has. And so what it did is it allowed us to have the resources of the federal government, but at the same time work with them. And so what we're doing now is we're working with them. The county, Jeff Gray, the county attorney, will be moving forward, obviously from a state standpoint, but there will likely be federal charges as well. And so we're working together on that, and that hasn't actually been rolled out. And so when it does, we'll let you know. But that's where we are at this point in time.
Yeah, I think that was kind of the confusion. Is like, okay, well, we know the county is going to file the charges, but the state usually prosecutes. So like, who is charged here? And then there was the question of what will be the federal charge?
Yes, and that remains to be seen. A lot of that is also fact dependent. And so we don't have all the facts. We've only had a suspect in custody for a number of hours now. And so there are things that we'll find out more information. When you get a suspect in custody, if they're willing to cooperate, you're much likely to get information on their phone a lot quicker, for instance, because then they'll give you the passwords. And so we're still waiting to see what that looks like, what kind of information we get. And then once we get that information, then we'll be able to make a decision moving forward on what do those facts support in terms of state charges, federal charges, and then where do we go?
Because right now he's being held on suspicion of aggravated murder, felony discharge, and obstruction of justice. So do we suspect that those will be the charges, or you're saying those could change?
Anything can happen at this point in time. I mean, that's a good guess, but the reality is we need to wait until the actual documents come out. And so this will happen within a day or two. I mean, we're not going to, there's no delays here. We're doing everything we can. We're moving as fast as we can. And so the idea is to get these charging documents ready and moving forward and have a criminal proceeding start immediately.
Okay, so you've heard President Trump and Governor Cox call for the death penalty. Is that still on the table in your mind?
Well, at this point, I can't say exactly what charges are or not on the table, simply because anything I say could implicate the actual proceeding. And so my job as the prosecutor is to stay a little bit detached from that. But at the same time, I will say that everything is on the table in terms of just from our standpoint, we're looking at all of our different options. We'll look at all the facts. We'll look at exactly what we know, and then based on that, we'll make a decision. Because ultimately, what we want is for this suspect. If there's guilt, obviously, and that's a proceeding that'll have to take place, but we want justice to be served. So that's our job, is to make sure that justice takes place.
And does it depend on whether his family wants the death penalty or not?
I can't talk about that at this point in time, but the reality is we'll make sure that he is held accountable, and it's a fact-dependent situation, but know that there are a lot of both federal and state law enforcement officers looking carefully at doing everything we can.
An aggravated murder charge here in Utah would warrant the death penalty.
It could.